All right, ladies and gentlemen, so welcome to the interior of the Rivian. There's a lot of screens, there's a lot of wood, there's a lot of stitched leather, and the leather smells fantastic. If there's a first impression, the build quality on this is far better than anything that Tesla has to offer. This is a cut above into the direction of what Porsche is offering or what Mercedes EVs are offering. This feels a lot more luxurious and a lot more upscale in comparison to anything that the other EV manufacturers are making at this current moment in time. Even the response to touch on the screen, the graphics on this, I guess where you would have your gauge cluster, it's a little bit more refined, but the actual level of the response to touch is a lot better than anything that I've experienced coming from an EV. So this is a promising and much more hopeful scenario when it comes to EV quality and manufacturing practices when it comes to these newer vehicles that are going to be mandated over time. So let me get this car on the road and we shall go forward. Let's go. All right, so after much speculation, I was able to find it. Park reverse neutral drive. This is just like the handle on my Mercedes. And now the car is in drive. That took a while to find out. There are cameras everywhere. This is pretty cool. You see cameras everywhere, and as soon as you lift your foot off the gas, you know immediately that the car is going to stop. I didn't even have to press the brake in order for the car to come to a complete stop. I just had to lift my car up from the gas. It senses cars from both directions. This is definitely a unique driving experience. As soon as I apply the gas, you hear the electric whine, of course. But if you're looking directly at the screen, it knows exactly if there's a cyclist nearby, it senses everything. This screen is pretty fantastic. And it is Rolls-Royce quiet inside of this vehicle. Let me make this right turn. You have cameras sensing everything. The cameras tell you where everything is. You could see the Freedom Tower in the distance. It senses all the bicycles right there. You could just see it on the screen. I mean, I feel like Rivian took their time to really consider every single scenario when it comes to manufacturing an EV. Tons of leg room, and I like that considering I'm 6'5". I like the fact that this car has a lot of space. There's a lot of thoughtful storage compartments. Ergonomically, this responds extremely well in terms of where to find window switches and where to find certain things. I mean, is it a Land Rover? We don't know. But in terms of acceleration, the power delivery is incredible. It comes to a stop the minute you release the brake pedal. It takes a little bit getting used to. That is for sure. When you're in the car, and I don't know if the microphone is going to pick this up, but when you're coming to a stop, it sounds a lot like you are sitting on the Long Island Railroad. and you're accelerating, and then when you're decelerating, it sounds like when the train is coming to its complete stop. Actually, it sounds exactly like that. Let me make this right on Grand Street. You could see the response to the camera. It just tells you where everything is. All right, now that I have a red light, let me talk about the drawbacks. In terms of the drawbacks with this vehicle, I'm not going to say the styling is one of the drawbacks because I think that everything's been pretty well thought out. But in terms of styling, I feel like the Land Rover Defender or something from Jeep, because I'm considering the people who are attracted to this level of outdoorsy vehicles, or someone who's considering a G-Wagon. I feel like the people who consider that vehicle are looking at this as they're not necessarily considering a Tesla Cybertruck. Or maybe they are. The EV buyer is definitely a unique buyer that wants to consider the environment, maybe, but they want to also go off-road and they want to consider many different aspects of adventure and exploration. And I think that's the theme that they're going for. I remember stepping into a Land Rover dealership in the early 2000s, and their entire theme was off-roading, going off-road, living off-road. Like, they weren't thinking about 0 to 60 times. They were thinking about how slow you can go as fast as necessary on an off-road path. And that's still sort of the mantra with which they live and die by in terms of moving around in a space that's going to find crazy scenarios. And I think Rivian is tapping into that market as well. They're looking at this as like an opportunity to tap into the off-road audience who also wants to be EV considerate. But like all EVs, I haven't lived with this long enough to understand what range anxiety looks like, but from what I've seen people do in this EV space, they always talk about like what the range anxiety will look like in an EV, especially if you're off-roading. I know that when my friends come up from Washington, D.C. to New York, they always find themselves having to charge in an inconvenient location between Philadelphia and New Jersey. And that's a real thing, because no matter how much range you have, you're still trying your best to curtail what that may look like. Because you could just like fill up your gas-powered car and go within 15 minutes. You can't do that in the EV yet. Even though their charging system on these, from what I am learning, is a little bit quicker. That's cool graffiti right there. Welcome to New York, everyone. So yeah, this is not a bad vehicle. I don't know if I have 3 things that I don't like, because I do like this car a lot. I think it's definitely impressive. I think that this was very well thought out. If I'm comparing it to a Cybertruck, I think this styling is a little bit more conservative, and I like that. This blends in a little bit better than a Cybertruck. This, I feel like, is safer than a Cybertruck. And I could see this being sold in multiple markets across the United States and across the world, whereas a Cybertruck is not really welcome in all parts of the world because of its lack of safety testing and regulation and so on and so forth. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. This is a very brief video of what I feel, what it feels like to drive a Rivian R1T on a Brooklyn street. I think this is a cool car. It's definitely one of the offerings that is a little bit more exciting than other EVs I've driven. I was not excited to drive anything else in the EV space. It is certainly not exciting like driving a LM002 Lamborghini or a Range Rover that's powered through a V8 with a stick shift. You know, like, I feel like those cars are a little bit more exciting. They speak to you more because there's a little bit more engagement. But this isn't bad for where the world is going today. So I thought I'd give my opinion on this car because I feel like this is a cool car that I'm glad is being offered for the general public, because if you let Tesla monopolize the entire EV market, there's not going to be any diverse voices and creativity in this space. So I think that with car companies like Rivian existing, I think this is going to be a great thing for the company in order for them to develop and for them to grow, and for other competitors to take notice about what cool cars exist. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching, and I hope to catch you on the next one. Take care. Speaking of the Cybertruck, this thing is ugly.